You're probably scrolling through a dozen pocket-sized cameras right now, wondering which one will actually let you capture those spontaneous street moments without ending up with blurry, noisy shots, and you don't want to waste money on something that feels cool on paper but falls flat in the real world. I get that hesitation. The last thing you need is a camera that looks impressive in the spec sheet but leaves you fumbling with focus or missing a shot in low light. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the RICOH GR-IV. It's the latest iteration of RICOH's long-standing GR line, which has always been marketed as a compact, high-quality option for street photographers who prefer a discreet setup. The big selling points on the box are a 25.7 megapixel APS-C sensor, a fixed f/2.8 28mm equivalent lens, a 5-axis sensor shift stabilization system, and a built-in 53 gigabytes of internal storage. Those numbers sound great, but the question is how they translate when you're actually out on the sidewalk, at a concert, or just wandering through a market. First, ease of use. The GR-IV keeps the classic minimal button layout that RICOH fans love. You have a dedicated shutter button, a mode dial, and a couple of quick access dials for exposure compensation and ISO. There's no sprawling menu jungle to dig through before you can start shooting. In practice, that means you can pull the camera out, frame a scene, and shoot within a couple of seconds, exactly the workflow street photographers crave. The menus that do exist are organized logically, with a clear, custom function page that lets you assign the rear dial to focus mode, exposure, or even white balance on the fly. If you've ever felt lost in the settings maze of larger mirrorless bodies, this streamlined approach is a breath of fresh air. Autofocus confidence is another area where the GR-IV tries to step up. It uses a hybrid AF system that blends phase detect and contrast detect pixels on the sensor, delivering focus acquisition in under 0.2 seconds in good light. In my own tests, the camera locked onto subjects like moving cyclists and a child running across a plaza without hunting. The focus point is centered, but you can shift it left or right using the rear dial, which is handy when you want to compose a tighter frame without moving your feet. The downside? The GR-IV doesn't offer the expansive multipoint AF selection you'd find on larger interchangeable lens cameras, so you're still relying on that single, movable point. For most street work that's fine, but if you need precise focus on off-center subjects in a hurry, you'll have to get comfortable with the dial. Low-light behavior is where the f/2.8 lens and the 25 megapixel sensor really shine. The sensor's high resolution means you can push ISO up to 6400 and still retain detail, while the lens's wide aperture lets in enough light to keep shutter speeds in the 1/601/125 range on dimly lit streets. The 5-axis stabilization adds another layer of safety, compensating for handshake when you're shooting handheld at slower speeds. I found that at a dimly lit jazz club, the GR-IV could capture clean, noise-controlled images without having to resort to a flash, preserving the ambience. However, if you regularly shoot in near-dark conditions like nighttime cityscapes without a tripod, you'll still notice some grain, and the fixed focal length means you can't zoom in to tighten composition, which might force you to crop later. The built-in 53 gigabytes of storage is a quirky but useful feature. You can shoot a full day's worth of RAW files without needing to carry a separate SD card, which is a small convenience when you're trying to travel light. The camera also supports wireless transfer via RICOH's Image Sync app, letting you push images directly to your phone for quick social media uploads. The trade-off is that the internal memory is not expandable. If you decide you need more space, you still have a single SD card slot, but you can't add a second card for overflow. For someone who wants a grab-and-go device with minimal accessories, it's a solid compromise. Now, who should actually consider buying this camera? If you're a beginner who's been using a smartphone and feels limited by the small sensor and lack of manual controls, the GR-IV offers a gentle learning curve with enough depth to keep you growing. Its compact size makes it less intimidating than a bulkier mirrorless system, and the fixed lens forces you to think more about composition, a valuable skill builder. Hobbyists who already own a larger system but want a secondary, discrete camera for street work will appreciate the high-resolution sensor and the lens quality, which rivals many prime lenses in larger mounts. Working creators, such as photojournalists or documentary shooters who need a reliable, pocket-size backup, will find the fast hybrid AF and stabilization useful for candid moments, and the internal storage can serve as a safety net in case an SD card fails mid-assignment. On the flip side, you might want to skip the GRIV if you